Okay, we're lucky today to have a hometown hero from Sandra Day O'Connor. Lieutenant Colonel John Simmons has had a very unusual career, starting off in California and ended up flying jets, been to the Pentagon, worked with nuclear bombs. He's going to be talking to you today for about 35 minutes. And Colonel Simmons, you're on.
Okay. Well, we'll start with the present. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Simmons, as he mentioned. I teach Air Force Junior at TCS Sandra Day O'Connor High School. We started the same time as you did here at Prescott, so it's our 8th year. It's gone by quickly. I'm married. My wife's name's Kelly. We've been married 30 years now. 2 daughters. One, Jennifer, graduated from Arizona State University in May, majored in meteorology. And then my daughter Rachel is going to graduate from U of A in December, marine biology. All right. Let's go back to the past, though. Ever since I was a kid, I always liked watching airplanes, jets, everything. I lived in San Diego, grew up in San Diego. I lived by Miramar Naval Air Station, so I used to watch the F-4s all the time, and then later the F-14s. So that was my interest when I was young. I got in high school. I went to a small school, University of San Diego High School. It's a Catholic school, about 1,000, 1,200 students. And I did well because I always worked hard, and I knew in high school that I wanted to do one of 2 things. One was join the military, fly jets. The other was be a doctor. One of the 2. I wasn't sure, but I knew it meant I had to do well in high school, and I had to go to college. And going to college for me was a big deal because out of both sides of my family, my mom and dad and all my relatives past, nobody had finished college. Nobody had gone to college, so I'm the first one. Now, quite a few of us had. My brothers, both his kids have, and both my daughters have. So, but it was a big accomplishment, not for me, but for my family. So, high school was fun. I had a lot of fun, and that's what I tell my freshmen. I said, have fun in high school. Don't worry about the car, the girlfriend, the work, the boyfriend, whatever. Have fun at high school. Get involved. Do a lot of things. I played baseball, football all year long, and we were pretty good. Senior year in baseball, we won our state championship. I tell my freshman students, and most of you are freshmen, right? Yes, okay, yes, and if you're not, you're probably a sophomore. It starts now. Your future starts now. Because these grades, they follow you. They follow you to college. They follow you on your college applications for scholarships to get accepted to certain colleges. So you may not know what you need to do now or what you want to do now in the future, but you need to get the best grades you can because grades mean one thing, options. Options to go in different places, options to get money to pay for college, things like that. So I don't care if you like math or you don't like math or whatever, do the best you can, because I did not like geometry. Not at all. But ask Colonel Peoples what we had to do when we went in there mission planning to do a pop on a target. You run in, low altitude, here's your airplane. You're running in a couple hundred feet above the ground. The target, we'll use that piece of paper. You whip off maybe 60 degrees. You pull up 4 Gs. You get to a certain altitude. You roll in. You roll back in, you drop the bomb at a safe altitude, come off 4 or 5 Gs, and get out of the target area. Guess what? That's all geometry. Or how about if I'm going to shoot somebody down? It's not 2-dimensional. We're just not chasing each other around in 2 dimensions. We're using the vertical and everything else. That's geometry. And you got to be able to do that in your head. That was on paper, the air-to-air's in your head. So where do you learn that? Back in high school, right? I'm never going to use this stuff, but I learned it well enough, and about 8 years later, I was using it every day when I was going out to fly. Okay, so I went to University of San Diego High School. That was all the way across the street from University of San Diego College, which was all the way across the street from my high school. So I spent 8 years pretty much on the same campus. 8 years. Again, I didn't think I had more than 4 years to graduate from high school or college. I was going to college, I was going to be done in 4 years, and I was going to move on either to med school or to the military because I hadn't decided yet. So I took pre-med, a lot of chemistry, a lot of biology, a little math, a little physics, but it was all good. It was interesting. College was not fun. High school was a blast. College was a job. And I had a job. 32 hours a week working at a local supermarket to help my dad pay for my college. Okay, I had a small scholarship, but again, it's a private college, so it was very expensive. So I worked a lot. I don't remember college very well. It was just work, but it was to get me to another place. In my junior year, I decided I was going to go in the military. My dad was in the Navy. I live in San Diego, so I'm going to join the Navy, right? Makes sense. So I applied to the Navy, do the interviews, physicals, get a flight. I get accepted. I get sworn in by Blue Angel to the Navy. I'm going to go to officer candidate school a couple months after graduation in 1982 and be a naval pilot. Well, I get cold feet, literally. I don't really like the ocean or boats. Okay, beach is okay, but boats and that kind of stuff, I don't like it. So I go talk to the Air Force, and they go, sure, you can apply, blah, 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 but you got to get out of Navy first. So since I really hadn't cost them any money, they let me get out of that commitment. Went and talked to the Air Force. A year later, I'm in the Air Force. I have an officer training slot, but a navigator slot, not a pilot slot. So maybe that was the deal for switching services. Doesn't matter though, I'm happy. I'm going to go in the military, and I'm going to fly jets. Okay? There's no other option for me other than flying jets, even though I might get a B-52 or a C-130, right? But I'm going to keep a positive attitude. So college, like I said, wasn't a lot of fun. It was work. It wasn't like anything I've seen in Animal House or any of that kind of stuff, because I was all business. But now I'm at Navigator School in Sacramento, California. Okay, flight school is 1 year of just learning how to fly, whether it be how the airplane works. There's a lot of book work on systems, there's work on tactics, there's work on navigation, all different kinds of things. Then you got to fly the simulator, you fly the airplane, and you always do a simulator before the flight so you can practice. And it was a grueling 1 year. It was fast, but this was fun because I had people like you around me. I had my peers. We had 3 different flights. We were competitive, but we were supportive. We supported each other, but we liked to compete, and we liked to do things together. And when you just think of this group right here, if you spend a whole year together all day for a year, you're going to get pretty close. You're gonna, especially if you're doing something you've always wanted to do. So nav school was good. Once towards the end of navigator school, you do a dream sheet. You put down, okay, I'd like to fly this here, this there, and you have about 50 choices. Well, obviously F-111 fighter was my first choice. Then an F-4, another fighter, RF-4. Then I had to go to like B-52s and C-130s and C-141s. And that kind of stuff, and I'm going, God, I hope I don't get one of those. But you know what? I told you that I put my mind to something, I can normally do it, but it's a lot of work for me. It doesn't come easy. I have to work, and I have to work, and I have to work. Well, I finished #1 in my class. So I received the F-111 to Upper Heyford, England, which is nice. It's by Oxford. So I finished nav school. Now you got to do all kinds of different training. You have to go to land survival, 3 weeks. That was fun, Spokane, Washington. And then they used to do water survival just south of Miami, Florida, Homestead Air Force Base. That was fun too, a week of that. So I did that for a month. Then I went to New Mexico, Holloman Air Force Base, went through a month of fighter lead-in training. All it is flying a little faster in a different type of jet and learning some tactics. And then you go to your weapon system. Mine was the F-111.
I got a picture of it here coming out.
Yeah. So I got to spend 6 months at Mountain Home Air Force Base learning how to fly the F-111. It was a lot of fun.
See on this right seat, you'd be sitting right here in the right seat.
Yep.
Right there on the right seat.
You have controls just like the pilot. Everything, you can fly and do everything. That looks like a U. And you also have a radar there. INS and all kinds of stuff, so you can do all types of different kind of bombing, but you get to sit next to each other. It's kind of nice. Can't see very well behind you, but you see really well out the front. So our mission is low altitude bombing, whether conventional weapons or nuclear weapons. So 6 months of this. After that, you go to your first real assignment. So that's about the 18-month point. 18, 19 months. I've been in the Air Force that long, I still can't even go fight a war. All right? So finally I end up Upper Heyford, England, and now I have 90 days to get mission ready. Mission ready includes being able to fly a conventional mission with tactical type weapons, the little ones, and then fly a nuclear mission where bad things are going to happen to a lot of people.
Let me show where there. Guys, this is America. Here's Upper Haven, England. Remember, England is the size of Michigan. So as across the Atlantic, here's England. And basically this is sort of the middle of England. The famous, London that everybody's heard of is down here on the bottom. These are leftover World War II airfields that were converted to modern use. And his Upper Hayford is the name of a little village, I guess, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Little village right next to it. And again, some of these, when I flew F-15Es over here near Cambridge, and he was near Oxford. Okay.
So I really wanted to go to Europe because I hadn't been much out of California, the western states, Hawaii, but I wanted to see the world. That was part of my reasoning for joining the military. I like to travel, I like to move, I like to experience different things. Well, we get to a location, I'm married, no children at the time, and you have to go through a mission ready check. 90 days, you get to do a tactical check, which means you can fly a low-level mission and hit your target, and then you get nuclear weapons certified, which is very stressful. Okay, a lot of top secret type things, and a lot of pressure on you to do that. And you have to not just go through a flight evaluation, physical evaluation, and mental evaluation to make sure you're stable to handle nuclear weapons.
Here's some of the nuclear bombs that have gone off. I guess the silver bullet, this right here, is very similar to what we carry. His F-111 was really kind of an older version of F-15E, supersonic, but these are some of the results of what we train for. Lots of fun.
So while in England, I had the ability to upgrade from weapons system officer to instructor weapons system officer, which I did before I made captain. So the colonel that certified me said, "You're the first lieutenant I can remember ever being an instructor here." So that was kind of nice to know that. And it also meant you get to fly more because you get to do the training and the new pilots, new Wizzos, and then you get to be the wing commander's C&I Wizzo. You get to fly with the boss because the boss had to go to meetings all the time all over the continent, the European continent, and he usually took a young, sharp weapons system officer with him to do all the flight planning, mission planning, and take care of things for him. So that was fun. 3 years, Upper Hayford. I then transferred to Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho. And there's a couple jets up there from Mountain Home, some F-15Es. I really liked Idaho. 2 reasons. The mission was good. We were training new pilots and Wizzos how to fly the F-111. And I really liked outdoors. There's very good whitewater rafting, fishing, water skiing, snow skiing, all kinds of things in Idaho. So it was nice. It was good. But unfortunately, after 2 years, they decided to deactivate the F-111s, which meant they were going away. So I no longer have an airplane that I'm qualified to fly. So I talked to the people at our personnel center, and they said, "Have you ever thought about being an ALO?" And I go, "Why would I want to be an ALO?" And they go, "Because after 2 years of being an ALO, which is an Air Liaison Officer, we'll let you go fly the Strike Eagle." And I said, "That sounds like a good deal. What are my options?" And they gave me some options. And I said, "I'll take that National Training Center in California." Why? 3 hours from San Diego, it's out in the desert, and the Army does their land warfare training there. They'll bring in a brigade of troops from somewhere within the United States, and then they have an opposition force that fights like the Iraqis or the Iranians or the Soviet Union, and they go out there for 2 weeks and have huge battles. And I get to talk on the radio and talk to airplanes, A-10s, F-16s, and do close air support. Sometimes with live weapons, AC-130s, control them, shooting their big guns and stuff like that. So I like the desert. I wasn't flying airplanes. I was talking to them. That was pretty good. That wasn't bad. And they let me leave 6 months early. They needed Strike Eagle Wizzos. So what they did was release me from that assignment after 18 months, and I got to go to training. Now you got to go all the way through training again, different airplane, totally different. And it's about 20 to 30 years newer in technology. All right. So I go to, this time I go to Las Vegas, Nellis Air Force Base, and I get to fly the F-15E. I spend 4 months there. I get qualified in the F-15E, and then they send me to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina. And I was in the Yellow Squadron, the Rockets, the Rocketeers. And I spent 3 years there, almost 3 years. And again, we deployed a lot to the Middle East for Desert Shield, and then Desert Storm, and then Southern Watch. So we spent a lot of time, the 3 squadrons would just rotate back and forth. So 4 months, you're in Saudi Arabia, flying over southern Iraq, and 8 months you're home. And not everybody had to go in the squadron, so sometimes people got a break, but that's what we did. We just kept rotating in and out, back and forth, making sure things were going well in Iraq, in Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. So that was kind of fun. I was there for 3 years. I had just got promoted to major, and I was selected to go to school. So instead of giving me another assignment, my group commander was going to send me to Air Command and Staff College the next time it was up. So I was going to hang out there about 9 more months. But I'm at an exercise again at Nellis Air Force Base, and I'm going out to fly, and somebody stops me and they say, "Hey, Captain Simmons, you got to call back home." And so I call back to home. I'm talking to the duty officer, and he says, "Somebody wants to talk to you at the Pentagon about a job." And I go, "I'm not looking for a job." And he said, "Well, he's looking for you." So I said, "Okay, I'll call him when I'm done flying." Well, I call, and sure enough, the colonel's group that handles all colonel assignments, promotions, performance reports, training, everything. This one office handles all that. They want to hire me to be in charge of the fighter section, which is 850 colonels. And I'm going, okay, how did I get nominated for this? And they go, well, Colonel Duke had this job about 6 years ago. We needed somebody on short notice, so we figured he'd know a good person, and they said, send you. So what I did was I went to the Pentagon for 3 years. I skipped school. I delayed school. I went to the Pentagon. Really interesting. The work's interesting. Even though I was in personnel, it was still pretty cool. I learned a lot of things. I met a lot of higher ranking people. I didn't talk to colonels, I talked to generals. Because being a colonel is like being a second lieutenant. You have no say over your assignment. The generals have a say. So colonels would call me and ask me questions. I go, sir, I can't tell you. I can tell your boss, have your boss call me, but I can't tell you. So I was always talking to a 1, 2, or 3-star general, or maybe their executive officer, somebody like that. But that was really interesting. I mean, it opened up my eyes about what really went on in the Air Force, because I got to work with the air staff, the joint staff, security assistant agencies, with all the different embassies. I had 850 colonels that had 850 jobs all over the world. So I'd get up in the morning and I'd talk to somebody from Korea. Then in the afternoon, maybe somebody in Africa. I mean, there were Air Force officers all over the world. And it was really cool getting to know what they did, all these different things. So after 3 years of that, they finally sent me to school. Air Command and Staff College is a school for majors. Went there for about 10 months. And you learn how to do staff work. I had already done the staff work. So it's kind of backwards, but it's nice to have that education because you get to meet a lot of people from different branches, different services. They just don't have Air Force students there. There's 600 students, and about maybe a fifth are from the Army, Navy, or Marine Corps. And then we had 60 students from different countries. So I had one from Zimbabwe, one from Botswana, one from Latvia, and the other one was Romania in my class. So that was really interesting getting to know those guys. Once that assignment was finalized and over, or the training was over, the school, I was going back to Strike Eagle. That was good. I didn't have to go back to the Pentagon. That was kind of a fear, but I was kind of confident since I did my Pentagon tour that I'd get to go back to flying. Now, you think we're rated, you would think all we do is fly airplanes. That's not true. Officers have to be able to do everything, just not their primary duty, which for him is a pilot, he's a weapons system officer. We have to be able to do a bunch of things. So already I'm at about 16-year point. I've been an F-111 Wizzo, an F-15E Wizzo, I've been an air liaison officer, I've been to school, and I've been a duty officer at the Colonel's Group for the Pentagon. So I've done that much already, a bunch of different things. And I've probably moved, I don't know how many times yet, but I moved like 12 times in 21 years. So some of the training would only be for 6 months or a year, but you'd have to move. So I'm on my way to England now. I'm going to go fly Strike Eagle. Again, at school, I find out I get promoted to lieutenant colonel, not pinned on yet, so I show up as a major, And first I go to the Blue Squadron, you don't have any pictures, to the 492nd. I stay there for a while, and then the Red Squadron, 494th, the Panthers, needed some wizzos, some older wizzos for mentorship type stuff to mentor the young ones. So they sent me over there, and that's where our paths crossed. And I only spent 2 years there though, because I pinned on Lieutenant Colonel. I wasn't going to be a flying squadron commander. Okay, that wasn't going to happen. I knew that. But again, I get a phone call, and they need a squadron commander to go back to Fort Irwin with the Army and be the head Air Force representative to the Army for close air support. So you never turn down a command job. So I have to leave flying a year early. That's kind of tough to do, but you never turn down a command position because they come along very seldom. So I went back to Fort Irwin. I am probably the only Air Force officer to ever go to Fort Irwin twice, but it's a great job. Okay, now I'm not out in the field training people how to do close air support, controlling airplanes. I'm teaching Army generals, Marine Corps generals, Navy admirals, civilians such as Secretary of Defense, governors, anybody that rolls into the National Training Center, because it is the #1 training place for the Army. They come in there, and I get to brief them on what the Air Force does. So just be a lieutenant colonel, I'm talking to a 4-star general or higher every week. They're coming in, they want to know what the Air Force, what's the Air Force doing here? They're back in the corner. We had our Division Tactical Operations Center, where we manned a radio air request net, we processed requests. We also had the ability to track the battle, okay, because all the jets have pods on them, so we could track their altitude, airspeed, whether or not they hit the target, that kind of stuff. So besides being a trainer and being a squadron commander, I was always doing battle assessments or training assessments. So that was quite interesting. I was there about 2.5 years. Again, I was supposed to be there for 3, but when the phone rings and it's a gentleman, both Colonel Peoples and I knew, Colonel Hensley, called me. He said, "Hey Bart," that's my nickname, call sign. He said, "What are you doing?" I go, "Well, sir, I'm getting ready to go on the field for another battle." He goes, "No, in your future." I go, "I don't know. I still have about a year left here." And he goes, "Well, why don't you come work for Colonel Cook, or General Cook?" I go, "General Cook? I don't know General Cook." And he goes, "Well, he's the commander of Air Education Training Command." Who's the commander now? Air Education Training Command, just promoted. General Rand, he used to be the wing commander out at Luke when I was at headquarters AETC. So I said, "Well, Colonel Hensley, I've never turned down a job working for a 4-star. When do I start?" And he goes, "Next month." I go, "Well, you might want to talk to my boss." So I gave my boss his name. They talked a little bit. And after some negotiations back and forth, I was going to leave in 3 months so they could find somebody to replace me. And then I can move on to the headquarters and work for the AETC commander, which that was an incredible job. Okay, so now I'm not flying again. So I've been in the Air Force 18, 19 years, and now I'm on my 4th non-flying job. I've had 4 flying jobs and 4 non-flying. So I've flown about 60% of my career and the other 40% staff jobs. So I go work for General Cook, and now I'm responsible for about 600 colonels that are in Air Education Training Command, and about a dozen generals and a couple high civilians. So not only do I have to take care of all the colonels, I got to take care of the generals too. But I'll tell you what, it was really interesting, me, a lieutenant colonel, being able to walk into the 4-star general's office, knock on the door and say, "General Cook, General Looney," because General Looney was his replacement, "Sir, can I come in?" And he goes, "Sure, Bart, come on down, have a seat." And it was amazing. It was amazing the responsibility and the authority that I had in that position, that he had that trust in me, that he would listen to some things that I said, some ideas I had, and things like that. One of the most interesting things is, you guys, we won't get political, but they've had 3 years to do the Obamacare computer system, right? 3 years? Well, General Looney one day, when he first came in, I'm going, boy, I hope I don't get replaced, because sometimes the 4-star general comes in and brings his own people. And I had this big book, all the colonels, all the generals. And it's my first meeting with him, so I'm scared. You're going to be scared when the colonel comes in. I was scared, going, God, I hope he likes me. And I take the book, and after about 2 minutes, he closes the book. And I go, oh darn. He goes, you know what, Bart? And his vice commander was there, Lieutenant General Larson. He goes, you know what? He goes, my vision. He goes, this paperwork's good. It's fine. Don't worry about it. That's good. He goes, but you know what? I got to make sure I get the words right. He goes, I envision you, me, and Denny sitting here looking at a big screen TV and going over everything you have there on some new software system that you haven't invented yet. And I go, software? Invent? He goes, yes. He goes, in 3 months, when I have my general get-together, when all the generals come in, they did it twice a year, I would have to brief all the generals on what's going on in the command with all the bodies. He goes, we're going to sit here and you're just going to mouse over things and flip slides and stuff like that. We're going to talk about the whole command. And he goes, and you got 3 months to do it. And I'm sitting there going, I'm an idiot when it comes to computers, okay? I can barely turn one on. And he goes, don't worry about it. You got all the money you need and whatever help you need. So I did get a lot of help that afternoon. People came in, they had to put it out for contract, they had to find people to write the code, stuff like that. But I had to design the entire system, how it was going to work, what it was going to show, how the information was going to display, down to the font size and font color. So I did that in 3 months, and I'm very proud of myself because it actually worked. You know, it wasn't because of my ideas, it was because I had 4 guys down in the basement for 3 months just writing code. Okay, so they put together this sophisticated system in 4 months that worked very, very well. When we had the second meeting 6 months later with all the generals, I mean, it was really flawless. It was great. It was so good that the 4-star general has 4-star peers in the Air Force. He put out the word what he had, and everybody else wanted one. They wanted that system, but with their colonels and their generals. So this company that built it, they already had everything designed. All they had to do was put different information in, so it worked well for them too. But I'm sitting there. I'm at Randolph Air Force Base in Texas, 21 years in the service. I'm a few weeks away from getting my promotion recommendation form for colonel, and I start thinking, what's next? What's next for me? And I'd always promised my daughters that when I could retire, I would include them in the retirement decision. So, oldest daughter, she's a sophomore in high school, her second in high school, and her 8th school. Second in high school, 8th school, she's only a sophomore. The youngest one, she had 6 schools, but she's only a 8th grade. So my wife was out doing something with the Wives Club, so we're sitting there having dinner, and I go, I haven't told your mom this, but I'm thinking of retiring. And they said, what? I said, well, I've done everything I've wanted to do. I made Lieutenant Colonel, I'm squadron commander, I've had a lot of fun, but I know you guys have moved a lot. And I said, if by chance I get promoted, we're going to go overseas again, and we're going to spend a couple of years in the Korea, Middle East, anywhere. And I said, Jennifer, that means you're going to go to 4 different high schools. Rachel, you'll probably go to 3. We'll have a lot of movement, because if anybody knew how the colonel world worked, it was me, because I spent 5 years doing that to colonels, moving them, training them, and they don't stay anywhere very long. So my daughter said, well, can you retire? And I said, yes, that's why we're having this discussion. And I said, I'm ready. And they go, okay, we're ready. What will we do? And I gave them a couple options. One was junior ROTC, because I always wanted to teach high school. And they were good with it. So I went in the next day. I told my 3-star boss, Lieutenant General Larson, what I was thinking. He said, do you want to talk to General Looney first? And I said, well, I can't wait. He's gone. He was in Europe. I go, because in a week I get my promotion recommendation, and if you give me a definitely promote, then I retire after that. That cheats somebody out of that recommendation. I said, I think I need to do it now. I'm pretty sure. So I went and I put in my papers, and then about a month later I had the courage to tell my wife. She was not happy. She loved the Air Force, and she liked moving and all that, but you know what? It turned out to be a great decision. It was good. It worked well for my daughters. They both graduated from Sandra Day O'Connor High School. So I got to see them at school. It's not the best thing having your kids go to the same school you're at. It's handy when they need money or to go home early. But I thought that was good, and I think what we do here is good. We do good work. I hope you
about
appreciate your
five minutes,
instructors.
5 or 6 minutes left. Anybody want some questions?
Appreciate your instructors. They put in a lot of time and effort. They're not doing it for the money. They're doing it because they really, really like you. Okay? They really care about you. They care about each and every one of you. The ones that get yelled at more or talked to more often, they probably care about you more than anyone, right? You get more attention. So appreciate what they do. Treat them with respect. Do the best you can, because remember, it starts now. Your future starts now regardless of what you want to do. Okay, so not briefly, but I told you about myself. Do you have any questions about anything I've done? Anywhere I've been? Yes?
What was Navy boot camp like, sir?
I didn't go. I bailed out before I had to go.
Oh,
That's when
okay.
I switched.
Oh, that's right.
So
Thanks,
I didn't get to experience that. Air Force was easy. It was, if you could go without sleep for 4 months, it was not tough at all. A lot of academics, and you had to do physical fitness, but I didn't think it was hard. Yes?
What wars have you been in?
Did Southern Watch, Bosnia, Deliberate Force, that kind of stuff. I was on the
Explain
plane.
what the
Okay.
Southern Watch is.
Southern Watch was, we flew patrols over southern Iraq to make sure that they were complying with the peace agreement from the first Gulf War. During the first Gulf War, I was training F-111 Wizzos and pilots back in the States. In 1995, October, there was some genocide going on in Bosnia between the different religions there, 3 different religions.
You see
They're
what
all
these
fighting.
guys right here where I'm.
So I took this assignment on 2 days' notice. I went here to northern Italy, the 5th Allied Tactical Air Force, and I worked for a 3-star general, 1 American, 1 Italian, and we controlled all the air that went into Bosnia here, Sarajevo being the capital. So I did that for 4 months. Then the second Gulf War, I took part in the first part of it before I got that assignment back to the States, but we were the first units involved, and so that's the combat action I've had. Even during the patrols, we used to get shot at all the time and couldn't retaliate. So, questions? Yeah, other hands? Not very exciting, is it? Been all over the place. Take advantage of wherever you go. I made sure that my family traveled a lot, saw the sights, saw the historical things in
Ask him where his nuclear
In Europe.
targets were.
just draw a 3-hour flight radius from England towards Russia, and all those were targets. But that was something, if you think about it, you're sitting there with another guy, and you got to be able to accept the fact and responsibility that you may have to go nuke tens of thousands of people and kill them because the president says so. You can't question it. You just need to go and do it. That's your duty. That's what you signed up to do. That's why they have the screening process. But because of that, because of the determination of hundreds and thousands of Americans, Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines, that if we had to, during the Cold War, if we had to retaliate and strike the Russians like that we would do it, is why the world is the way it is now. Why communism has kind of dissolved from almost every country. Why Russia is technically a free country now. We have other issues we're dealing with, but the Cold War is over, which is nice. Oh, here's a good story, the good deals. I'm Upper Haven my first time, and the West German government used to pay to fly a couple Americans to Berlin for a week from each base. And again, the better you do at your job, the more good deals you're going to get. Okay, we call them good deals, TDYs, temporary duties, the nice places. Well, my boss, my squadron commander, comes up to me. I'm just a junior captain, and he goes, "Captain Simmons, come here." He goes, "Would you and your wife like to go to Berlin for a week?" And it's like, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Okay, you're going next week." Well, we got to stay at Tempelhof Airport. Anybody seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? Where the blimp took off the Zeppelin? That's Tempelhof Airport there. It's a hotel also. And we got to go through the Berlin Wall, or through the wall, in East Berlin. And we got to tour the Russian War Museum, which is the most amazing exhibit I've probably ever seen for the size. And the person that gave it, her father was a general of the Soviet Union during the war, so it was quite a tour. And changing into the guard, we got a helicopter blackout flight around the wall. You got to see all the defenses and stuff like that. So Who's that going to happen to? Somebody here majoring in PE or art or something, or just a military person just out of the blue? So there's opportunities if you look for them. There's a lot of things to do. You can do your job, be proud, serve, do well, and enjoy what's around you, regardless of where you go. Because they can send you to a lot of different places, but there's always something interesting that you can learn or do.
All righty, guys, we need to wrap it up at this time. Everybody give a round of applause, please.